We've got Twitter Tuesday coming your way. Coming up next on the LockedOn Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name is Patricia Traina, and today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than the PrizePick projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive up to 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. So visit prizepicks.com and use that promo code LOCKEDON for your bonus entry. Today on the Locked On Giants podcast, we have a Twitter Tuesday, and we have quite a few questions here. Most of them coming in via Twitter, some of them coming in via the mailbag. So we are going to just jump right in. There's about 16, 17 questions, something like that. I'm going to get to every single one of them. So let's not waste any time and get right into it. Up first, we hear from Andrew, who's a regular listener of the program, who wants to know, do I think Brian Dabolls is going to try to ease into this offense, or is he going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at the tight ends? Good question, Andrew. Way to start us off. I think what the Giants are going to probably do, and I could be wrong here, but this is how I would approach it if I'm the Giants, is I don't know that the passing game is up to snuff yet. I know they've worked on it, but as I have said many times, and I've written a couple times on Giants Country, I do think with the offensive line having a new starter projected at left guard, the Giants are probably going to want to ease into that passing game. And I think they're going to rely more heavily on the running game. So to that end, I'm not so sure that the Giants are going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at the Titans. I think you're going to start to see more and more aggressiveness, more and more creativity as weeks go on, but not in this first game. I'd be very surprised if it's really aggressive. Now, I'm not saying excuse me, I'm not saying it's going to be ultra conservative. I'm not saying it's going to be vanilla or boring. I just don't know necessarily that you're going to see the fireworks that maybe it sounds like you're looking for on Sunday, but we'll see if they have something else up their sleeve. All right. Up next, we hear from a Twitter question from David L. Do you have any idea who's going to start at left guard? Great question, David. As I record this, which is on Monday, I'm recording this Monday night. The answer is no. I don't have a firm handle on who I think is going to start at left guard. Devery Hamilton is the incumbent, but they also are going to take a look at Tyree Phillips and Jack Anderson. They're going to probably see if Joshua Ezeudu is healthy enough to put in there. So I will probably have a better idea who's going to be the starter later in the week, because the Giants on Monday did not allow media access. We did conference calls, so we weren't there at practice. We weren't able to see anything or talk to anybody outside of who the Giants gave us. So yeah, a little early with that question, but as soon as I hear something or get a beat on that, I'll certainly try and slip that into an upcoming podcast if need be. But for now, I don't have a definite answer for you. I'm sorry. All right. Next, we hear from Kevin McClave, who has a question. Let's see. What's your opinion on a frequently used fan rationalization that a particular former or soon-to-be former player doesn't fit the system? It's been said about big-name vet cuts, Bradbury, Ryan, Martinez. If money were no object, isn't this team better with those guys? All right, Kevin, really the only guy where money was involved was Bradbury. And Bradbury was very much a fit. I don't know where you're getting that he wasn't a fit, but I can tell you that the Giants really wanted to keep Bradbury. They really tried to figure out every way possible to keep him, to no avail. So I don't think you could put him in that group. Now, Ryan and Martinez, those guys were not cut to save significant cap money. They were cut for other reasons. You can point to scheme, and you can point to maybe some other things. And I'm not saying this is why they were cut, but just keep in mind that every year a coaching staff tends to bring in his own guys. All right. We saw it when Joe Judge came in. Remember how Joe Judge brought in Nate Ebner and they let Michael Thomas, who was a better safety and a better special teamer, walk away? So, you think of Logan Ryan, and he was a guy who was a Joe Judge guy. Blake Martinez, a Patrick Graham guy. Now, were they fits for the system that the Giants are running? You can debate that. Every veteran players, you can generally teach them to fit into what you want them to do. But did the team want to get younger and rebuild at those areas? That's probably, why those guys are no longer on the team. Again, it had nothing to do with money in that instance. So now, is the team better with those guys on it? With Bradbury, yes. With Ryan, to be determined. With Martinez, to be determined. Because I don't know how much you're going to ask the inside linebackers to do. I don't know how much what specifically the safeties are going to be asked to do beyond what we saw in the preseason. So that is up for debate, obviously. Okay, Ruben Martinez is up next. How do you view the matchup between the Titans receivers and the Giants secondary? No, A.J. Brown is a big factor. You're right, Ruben. It is a big factor, but I'm still a little concerned about Aaron Robinson. I believe Aaron Robinson, by playing him outside, they're playing him out of position. And my concern is that they are going to go after him. The Titans, that is, are going to go after Aaron Robinson. And I think we can all agree that Aaron Robinson did not have a strong preseason. So I'll let you connect the dots there, but I will admit that I'm a little concerned about the Giants secondary and, the Titans going after Aaron Robinson, which I suspect they're going to do a lot of. So that's my response there. All right, Giant fans, we've got a lot more coming up here on this Twitter Tuesday edition of the LockedOn Giants podcast. We're going to be right back after this. Hey, Giant fans, planning your fantasy sports or betting action for the 2022 NFL season has never been easier when you use PrizePicks. You can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available for any of the major sporting leagues. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less, and it's that easy. PrizePicks is currently operational in over 30 states and Canada and offers safe and fast withdrawals. So download the PrizePicks app today or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. Don't forget to enter that promo code LOCKEDON at sign up to get an instant deposit match of up to $100. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the LockedOn Giants podcast. Patricia Traina here with you. Feeling stronger, getting better every day from my bout with COVID. I want to thank everybody who sent in well wishes, get well soon notes, the support on Twitter. Really appreciate it. I feel a million times better. The voice is still a little shaky, but listen, it's coming back slowly but and surely. And I never want to have to go through COVID again. That was not fun. And I hope none of you have to go through COVID because it is, like I said, it's just not fun. All right, let's get back to your Twitter Tuesday questions. Okay, up next, we hear from, I think this is pronounced Queso. Hey there, cheers from a Brazilian Giant fan who lives in Toronto. Wow. Didn't realize I had listeners outside, that far away. But great. I appreciate you listening. All right. So Queso writes, there's been a recent hype on the possible Odell return to New York. What's your take on that for next year? For the next years, excuse me. Realistically possible, or is it just a fan wish? And how would you feel about it? Okay, Queso, I'm all in favor of any move that will help the Giants team. But as far as Odell coming back this year, it's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why it's not going to happen. Number one, Odell injured that ACL in February. He is not going to be ready probably until November at the latest. All right. This team, we've got to see what this team is, but I really doubt they're going to be in a position where Odell's going to put them over the top. I really doubt that. All right. So, excuse me, just based on the injury alone, I don't think it's feasible. Number two, the cap situation is a mess. Everybody keeps talking about Odell, bring in this guy, bring in that guy. How are you going to pay these guys? I mean, the Giants are going to have to redo Leonard Williams' contract, which, I think September 7th is the deadline for the team to get under the cap. And right now the Giants are working to clear cap space. I know that for a fact. But do you really want to spend money on a receiver coming off an ACL this year when your cap situation is delicate and you've got question marks still in the cornerback rankings, the cornerback unit and the offensive line unit? I mean, look, it's a luxury that the Giants just can't afford. So no, I do not see it happening. And, look, I like Odell. I've always liked Odell, but he's coming off of 2 ACL injuries, I believe, to the same ACL. I'd want to see what he looks like before I invested any kind of, money in him. All right. So I don't think it's feasible. I think it's just some fans' secret wish or something like that. I don't think it happens. So sorry to disappoint you. I don't think that was the answer you were looking for, but that's my honest answer. All right. Alex Earp is up next. Will the Giants sign a veteran corner after week 1? You know what, Alex? They just added Fabian Moreau to the practice squad. I think that's probably going to be your veteran corner. We'll see how things go. Obviously, maybe it'll be okay. I mean, I like to think it's going to be okay because I tend to be positive. But so I think Fabian Moreau, who is a veteran cornerback, experienced cornerback, that's going to be your veteran if they have to make a move. All right. They'll just promote him from the practice squad and put somebody else either back on the practice squad or cut him. So yeah, that's what I see happening. All right. Next, we hear from S. Jones 71. What can you tell us about the process of getting the latest signings up to speed? Seems like a lot to cram in, but how much time are they allowed to spend with the coaches off the practice field, watching film, etc.? You know what? I don't think there's any limitations there as long as it's voluntary. But, the way it works is when you bring in a new player after training camp, you don't really go back and look at the whole playbook. You kind of focus on the game plan for that week. So it's a smaller segment of the playbook, and that's how you kind of learn. But yeah, coaches are obviously allowed to sit and watch film with the new guys and experience in the system. If, say, for example, the guys on defense have played for Wink Martindale at some point or another, that does help. You're right. But I don't think the getting up to speed part is as bad for a veteran as maybe it might be for a younger player. That would just be my guess based on, what I know to be true. So hope that answers your question. Thank you for that question. All right, let's see. Next, we hear from Jeremy Davis. And he has a couple questions for me. Why should Giant fans be excited about this season? And what is one area the Giants will exceed our expectations this season? All right. Great questions, Jeremy. Thank you so much for those. And thank you for that compliment, by the way, at the end of your tweet. I would say to question number one, what should Giant fans be excited for about this season? It's a new era, a new way of doing things. It's not the same old Giants way. And I, for one, am very interested to watch how this continues to unfold. Like, for example, with the old Giants way, I could pretty much predict certain things, like how are they going to handle game day inactives? How are they going to handle trades? And so, so on and so forth. This is a new generation, if you will, of Giants management coming down from Buffalo, a winning program. I'm curious and excited to see it take root and grow here in New York. So that would be, I know that's not really a great answer, but that's what I would be excited for, because how that system grows is going to affect the football product you see on the field. Now you ask, what is the one area Giants will exceed expectations in? I'm going to say wins. All right. I think I've seen the over under at 6.5. I think 8 wins is feasible. I really do. I do not think the Giants are going to be a playoff team, but I could see a scenario where they finish with 8 wins. And look, there's nowhere to go but up for this team. So anything above 4 wins is going to be, I think, welcomed by the fan base. So that being said, I think you're going to see a few more wins, and I think you're going to see a better quality product, all things considered. Now, is it going to be a perfect product? No. Is it going to be a finished product? No. Is it going to be more competent and not look like the Keystone Cops like maybe in the past? Yes, I do believe that. So hopefully that will get you excited. So thank you for that question, Jeremy. Appreciate it. All right, Giant fans, we have a few more questions to do on this Twitter Tuesday edition of the LockedOn Giants podcast. Stick around. We're going to get to all of them right after this. All right, Giant fans, we have more coming up on today's LockedOn Giants podcast Twitter Tuesday edition. But first, Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, but without the calories and without the sugar. Most Built Bars contain about 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein, and they taste great. Built Bar offers 9 amazing flavors in nut and nut-free variety, plus a rotating limited time offering of different flavors that changes up every so many weeks. So head on over to BuiltBar.com today to see what their current flavor lineup looks like, and use our special promo code LOCKEDON15 to save 15% off your first order. Again, that code is LOCKEDON15, LOCKEDON15 for 15% off your first order at BuiltBar.com. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the LockedOn Giants podcast. I'm Patricia Traina. We have a Twitter Tuesday today. We are answering your questions. Got a bunch of great questions. I mean, you guys really come through for me every week, and I do appreciate you. I appreciate you listening and watching on YouTube and the feedback that I get, good or bad. Look, I do this for you. I enjoy doing it for you. And I just, without you, there is no me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Just real quick before we get back to the rest of the questions, on Thursday, we're going to have our new crossover segment. It's new and expanded. I'm hoping on Friday to do a live show with the entertainer. I've got to try and set that up. Not quite sure what I'm going to do for Wednesday show, but I'll have something for you. I'll have something good for you. I just have to see how things shake up, because the Giants' schedule is a little weird this week. It's actually practice Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, and then practice Friday. Usually the practice schedule goes off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday. So kind of weird. And I'm also, just trying to clean up a few remaining things from when I was sick. So we'll get it all straightened out, and I will make sure I have some great programming for you. So thanks as always for tuning in. All right, let's get back to your Twitter questions. Brett Moore asks, do you think the Giants will do a real extension for Leonard Williams, meaning more years on his current deals, or a simple restructure for cap purposes? Oh, you know what, Brett? That's a really good question. And here's the thing: when Leonard Williams initially signed his extension, the idea was to not make it as long because I think Leonard wanted to hit free agency again and have a chance for another payday. Now, the question that needs to be answered is, does Leonard Williams like it here in New York? Do the Giants still feel he could be productive for another 2 or 3 years to warrant an extension? So basically, the two sides have to agree that they want each other beyond the current extension, the current contract's terms. So could I see it happening? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. I think that what's going to probably happen, and this is the scenario I outlined on Giants Country, is you're going to see a dummy year or avoidable year tacked onto Leonard's contract. And maybe over the time, the Giants will continue to draft or look to get younger at that position, because at some point, if Dexter Lawrence has a big year, they're going to have to pay him in a couple of years. So it's up in the air, but I would say it wouldn't be out of the question for Leonard and the Giants to extend and do a quote unquote real contract, as you put it. So that's a really good question. Thank you for submitting that. Okay. Eric Campan asks, you have to find out what the deal is with the new regime really feels about Toney and Golladay. Do you think we have a situation brewing with wide receiver drama again? And what's the percentage, in your opinion, that with each guy that we have an issue? All right, Eric, disclosure. I haven't been around in East Rutherford because of COVID. I got COVID, I want to say mid-August. So that knocked me out for quite a number of weeks. So that being said, I've tried to keep in touch. I've tried to keep my finger on the pulse. But look, I've got to get back in the locker room. And I will be back in the locker room in the coming days. And I've got to see for myself certain things. Do I think there is an issue with each guy? No. I can't sit here and say right now that I definitely think there's an issue. I think both of them had injury issues that cut into how they looked and maybe affected their mood. But I don't think the Giants have a major problem brewing on their hands. Once I get back into the locker room and I can observe in person, I can probably give you a better answer. But based on where things left, where I left things off before I got sick, I did not think there was a problem brewing. So do me a favor, Eric, circle back with me in a couple weeks. If you still want an answer to that question, give me an opportunity to get into the locker room and observe and talk to people again, in person, because you just get a whole lot more done when you can get in front of people and talk to them, as opposed to, what we had to do in training camp, where you would get secondhand information passed down for you. He said, she said, and you weren't able to really observe because you weren't allowed in the locker room. So I promise I will get back to you on that. Just give me a reminder in a couple of weeks and I'll give you a better take on that. But right now, I do not think there's a problem. So, all right. Next question comes from Big Blue Fan. Does Kenny Golladay's contract qualify for restructuring? Technically, yes. But from a cap perspective, you do not want to touch that monster. If you touch that monster, you're only going to make it worse. So that's why you don't hear me talk about it. That's why you don't hear anybody who knows the cap talk about it, the Giants included. Look, that's an ugly contract. And if you're the Giants, you want to get out of that contract or be able to get out of that contract as soon as you can. And if you touch it, guess what? You ain't getting out of that contract anytime soon. So technically, you could touch it if you wanted to, but it does not make sense to do it. So thank you for the question. Let's see. I believe Independent Outsider is up next. Yes, he is. Is there any way to limit Derrick Henry's production this week? Who has the real welcome to the NFL moment against Tennessee? And will Jihad Ward be a real contributor? All right, great questions, Io. Yes, I do think Jihad Ward will be a contributor. The real welcome to the NFL moment, I'm guessing Aaron Robinson. I have concerns about him in that passing game, even though there's no A.J. Brown. Regarding Derrick Henry, you've got to not let him get to the second level, and you've got to not let him get to the edges. I mean, look, if Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau don't play, I'm a little concerned about who's going to be there to set the edges. All right. You can't let Derrick Henry get to the second level. If you let him get to the second level, I think it's curtains for you. So what I think they're going to do is I think you're going to see, safeties brought up. You're going to see a lot of heavy personnel on the defensive side. You got to match power with power, because I don't need to tell you, Derrick Henry is a load to bring down. So that's how I think that's going to play out. Now, will they be able to limit him? Hopefully. Will they be able to stop him? You can't stop Derrick Henry. Just doesn't happen. So, all right, up next, Sarah Joe. What players look ready for Sunday's game? Who needs some polishing, and how do the rookies look? Okay, again, Sarah, thank you for the question. I have not seen the Giants since mid-August because of, being out with COVID. I've looked, obviously, at the preseason games. Now we are in regular season mode, and we're able to go back into the locker room and watch practice, but we're only allowed to watch the first few minutes of practice. So I can't give you, like a training camp type of report. What I can tell you, though, is, look, the entire team is going to continue to need polishing in every aspect. I think they'll all tell you that. Are they ready for Sunday's game? Well, again, as I record this, it's on Monday. So we haven't seen anything. We haven't had a chance to talk to anybody in the locker room. So it's a little hard for me to answer that. But look, I'm an optimist. I do think they're going to be ready. I do think they're going to have a few surprises for the Titans. The rookies, I'm hoping, are going to be good to go. Like I said, Thibodeau was still dealing with an injury. Azudu had injuries during the summertime. You hope they're healthy. So fingers crossed that everybody's ready to go, Sarah. But I think if you were to ask me, do I think the Giants can win this game? I'm not feeling it. I hate to be a negative Nelly, because I usually like to be positive, but I'm just not feeling it for this week. Hopefully I'm wrong. But right now, I just think there's still a lot of work to be done. I have concerns. I mentioned the offensive line, because they have a new left guard that they're plugging in there. I'm concerned about cornerback with Aaron Robinson. I'm concerned about the inside linebacker group and how they're going to deal with Derrick Henry. So there are some concerns I have about this team and where they are right now. So hopefully that gives you some kind of answer to your question. Thank you for asking, Sarah. Okay, next we hear from Chris Caulfield. When the Giants had their Ring of Honor inductees, you asked the current player if they knew of them, and the response was no. What did the Giants do to educate new players on the history of the franchise? Okay, great question, Chris. Daboll has legends come in all the time to talk to the players, give them like a post-practice pep talk. And, you also see the guys around the building. You obviously have the Ring of Honor that's in the locker room, which, lists all the Giants greats. There's posters and murals depicting, great moments in Giants history. So there's enough history around the building. Now, are these current players paying attention? That's another story. So the stuff is there. It's there for them to take advantage of it. Whether or not they do it, that's another story. So But the Giants, they do make an effort to integrate the past with the present, because the past is very important. These are legends we're talking about. So, again, do the current players, are they receptive? Some are, some are not. So it's with anything. So, all right. Thank you for that question. All right. We've got a couple more. These come from the mailbag. And Dan actually has a personal question for me because he doesn't know that much about me. Geez, I thought my life was an open book, but all right. Are you married? Children? If children, do any of them collect football cards? All right. Yes, Dan, I'm married 20 years. Believe it or not. I know I can't believe it. I just celebrated my 20th anniversary in May. Children, I do not have any living children. I have a heavenly child from when I had a miscarriage back in 2008, and I do count that as a child. I count my dog Molly, who passed away last August, not this past August, but the August before. She was my fur baby, so she's considered my child. Before her, I had a puppy by the name of Bernie, a Labrador puppy who unfortunately had a heart defect and didn't live very long. That was very devastating for me. So that fur baby counts. So I guess you could say I have 2 heavenly fur babies and 1 heavenly real baby. So as far as anybody collecting football cards, no. When I was younger, though, I used to collect baseball cards. That's as close as we went, but I never got into collecting football cards for some reason. So anyway, thanks for the question. All right, we've got one more, and this comes from Philip in Germany. Wow, all the way from Germany. Shout out to you, Philip. All right, so Philip's question is, what impression made Kadarius Toney, or did Kadarius Toney make to you this summer in comparison to his rookie year? Did he grow up more, and is he a welcome part of the team, and is he integrated? Ooh, all right. Let me go back, Philip, to the rookie campaign and what I saw. What I saw with Kadarius Toney was an immature young man, a guy who had been a big shot on campus, came to the NFL, and just kind of started to swim, if you will, in the deep end without a life preserver. And that led to him doing a lot of stupid and immature things. Now, so far this year, Philip, I don't think Toney has done anything, that I could say, holy smokes, this guy's still an idiot. He still doesn't get it. So there's been some maturity. The injury issue, see, it's kind of hard to comment on it because I don't know exactly what he's had. I don't think the team is frustrated with him because look, injuries are going to happen, and they know what this guy can bring to the offense. That said, there comes a point where, as the old saying goes, you can't make the club from the tub. So, look, Kadarius Toney is a very smart football player. He actually, if you sit and listen to him, he's a smart guy. He's not an idiot. I think he understands that, you got to put the work in. You can't assume that, what you did in college or what you accomplished in college is enough to keep you in the NFL. You can't assume that, just because you're a first round pick means that you're untouchable. Can't assume that. I do think Kadarius Toney realizes that. I don't think we have seen the best of him yet because of the injuries, but I'm really hoping this year we do. Because if we do not, then I could easily see the Giants looking to move on from him. Because look, as I said, you can't make the club from the tub. And if somebody's going to be constantly injured, you got to think about moving on at that point. So that's kind of how I see things with Kadarius Toney. I hope at some point this year to really sit down and talk to him and get to know him. I'm particularly interested in learning about his music. I know that's a big, a passion of his. So I'm kind of like hesitating here because I like to get to know the people, like really know them before I could say, yeah, this one's mature, this one's not mature. But I'm just giving you just general impressions. So I hope that's good enough for an answer, Philip. But I do hope to sit with Kadarius and maybe get to know him a little bit better and what makes him tick, especially his music. I'd like to know about his music and how, because I do see how that can tie in with his football. So that's my hope. So we'll see if that happens. So, all right. I believe, let me just see. Yep. That's all the questions we have for today's Twitter Tuesday. That was a lot, but they were good ones. So I can't thank y'all enough for such great questions and for filling up my mailbag. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, keep it here on the LockedOn Giants podcast all week long. We've got plenty more program coming up, and hope you enjoy it. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, your first watch of the day, if watching on YouTube. We'll be back at you tomorrow, Giants fans.